Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the rest of my boutique label movies in my collection. So I guess in a way this is part 3 of my physical media collection. The first part was all of my Criterion Collection movies, which is by far what I collect the most, and you can go watch that video if you're interested in that. And the second part was my Arrow video movies, and now I'm going to go over just kind of the remaining miscellaneous boutique labels that I have movies from, and talk a little bit about those boutique labels as we go through them. This one will be a little bit shorter, a little quicker, and let's get straight into it. Okay, so there's a few other boutique labels out there that make some stuff that I've been interested in and I've picked up. I guess mostly this video is like a Shout Factory, Scream Factory. They're owned by the same company. They have some interesting exclusives. They have some cool hard case slipcovers as well. But they also have a lot of movies that come out and just feel disguised like normal Blu-rays. In fact, I probably actually have a few that I don't even realize are Shout Factory that are just standard Blu-rays I've had over the years, because they have some pretty popular titles. I have 2 other labels here, and I only have 1 film from each of them, so we'll just start with them. So the first one I have is by the label Kino Lorber, which they tend to have some of the cheapest available deals on their website. They're maybe the most stripped back with their collection. Some people have pretty extensive Kino Lorber collections, which is sweet. Their spine is going to be all black most of the time with the same exact font. So if you have them, they all match up pretty nicely. Not my favorite though. It's fairly generic, and I prefer having a spine that matches the texture of the film a little bit more. But that's okay. Now, my first movie is a John Hughes film, Career Opportunities, which has Jennifer Connelly and Frank Whaley. And guilty pleasure film of mine, love it. Fun movie to get lost in, where he spends a night with this girl who stays in a Target after hours, and they kind of fall in love and have a romance, and then some burglars break in and they have to defend the Target from that. But so in a way, it's a big advert for Target. But I think they've actually done a 4K now of Career Opportunities with a slipcase. But yeah, this is a movie I definitely recommend, and it's a Kino Lorber labeled film. So yeah, interesting boutique label. Haven't got a lot from them, but Barnes & Noble does actually stock some Kino Lorber and does sell some of them now too. In fact, Barnes & Noble has been really dope and has every month they're doing different 50% off sales for different labels. So I'll probably get into some other labels now that they're doing that, because that's a good incentive to go in store and pick up some different movies you've never heard of, from labels you've never heard of, but they're going to be at a discounted price. The second label I have here is 88 Films, which I think, and you guys can clarify for me, they're either a UK-based company or they do the American versions of certain UK films. Because I thought this was a Eureka release, which is a UK thing. So, I don't know. I actually don't know a ton about 88 Films, but I do know that they make one of my favorite films of all time, and that's Super Cop. So, I love Super Cop, and this artwork is by a guy named Sean Longmore, who does... You can follow him on Instagram. He does a lot of cool artwork. He's done these really cool renditions of James Bond movie posters, which I think are really beautiful. And so, yeah, he does some cool art here. Yeah, it's different art on the back and different on the front. Different on the inside. Well, you get the classic police story thing. But then, yeah, you even have like this artwork. But the whole thing's just filled with just so much unique artwork. And then art cards here. And posters, booklets. This is a loaded set. And it wasn't even that expensive. Like this one I got on Amazon. Well, I just have the standard Blu-ray. There is a 4K edition of it. Which I do regret not getting the 4K, since it's probably my favorite action film of all time. But it's still available, which is cool, because it didn't have that same kind of exclusivity issue that Arrow Video tends to have. And maybe it's just because it's not as popular of a title. I don't know, but more people need to watch Super Cop. Same kind of box as Arrow, though, which is sick. Love that. Okay, then the rest of these are going to be Shout Factory, Scream Factory. So this is Psycho 2, which is an underrated movie, in my opinion. Anthony Perkins returns and gives an amazing performance. Psycho 2 is a really good horror. You're really rooting for Norman Bates in this movie, and I really like that. Oh, man, all-time classic for me. Shout Factory. This is part of their Shout Select side brand, side label. Now, Shout Factory can get kind of pricey. That's the only real downside. Their Blu-rays aren't too bad, but their 4Ks are pretty pricey, and sometimes they aren't as decked out. But this is Cuffs. Oh man, if you haven't seen Cuffs, dude, you gotta watch Cuffs. This is such a good Christian Slater film. He's so funny and charismatic in it. And it's a buddy cop movie. It takes place in San Francisco. It's so funny. It's got great music. It's fast paced. I rewatched it recently, and it's just a fun time. It's one of my favorite like 80s comedy action movies. So not a lot of people talk about Cuffs. Kind of surprised it even got the Shout Factory treatment. Man, yeah, I guess a lot of the movies I own and these labels are some of my favorites because Clue, the 80s Clue movie with Tim Curry has just always been a staple of my childhood and my entire life, I guess. It's a movie I've maybe seen this the most out of any film. Well, this and probably like Rush Hour are probably like the films I've seen the most in my lifetime. I don't rewatch movies a ton, by the way, either. I'm not like someone who watches a movie like once every year or something, but this is probably as close to like me wanting to watch something once every year as it gets. I love Clue so much, and I had to get this. This was a pricier one though, and I wanted to make sure I got the slip. It's just a favorite of mine, but yeah, Shout Factory can get a little pricey, and not, you know, it's cool packaging. I mean, I like the cover and everything. Just a classic slipcase. 4K. Great transfer though. Beautiful movie. Watched it last October with some friends. Okay, and the rest of my movies on this list, I'm just gonna spoil for you with this shot here. It's all the Halloween movies. They're all from Scream Factory. As you can see, I love the Scream movies. They're next to them as well. Scream is one of my favorite slasher horror franchises of all time. Halloween is another favorite slasher thing of mine, but specifically my daughter wanted to go through and watch all the Halloween movies last October. So once I saw that these editions existed, and I didn't even own Halloween 1, I was like, all right. And I found a really cool retailer. He had like a Reddit shop, so it wasn't like through any mainstream thing, and I got great deals on a lot of these Halloween movies. Unfortunately, though, I looked him up recently and he totally stopped his shop, so I don't know how he was doing it, but he had fantastic deals on boutique label stuff. But yeah, we'll start with Halloween 1, which I have, and I think it's, well, it is admittedly difficult to get out of this case, but it's this cool hard shell case. What's cool is, again, it has the reverse interior cover, so I put the original covers on all of them on the inside, and then just the new covers. But you'll see that they match up quite nicely because check out Halloween 2. He's also walking with the fall leaves. Halloween 2 here, which, yeah, similarly, I'll show you. I've got the inside cover artwork. Love Halloween 2. I think this is one of the best ones. Halloween 3, which is kind of a cult favorite of a lot of people. Season of the Witch, famously, does not have Michael Myers. Now this is where things start to suck in my collection here, because I have 8 of these Halloween movies and they all have the hard case except for these 2, Halloween 4 and 5. So like the top is just that slip. So when they're displayed, you can tell it's like, it's frustrating because like these have the top, they actually say like the name on them. So like when you're looking at them on a shelf, it's just like a little detail, but it starts to make it like not match perfectly. But I could not find the hard casing for these online. And it's hard to know, like when you're looking on eBay or things, like, okay, are you really selling me the hard case? So I'm just lucky enough I got the slips, because if they didn't have slips, that'd bother me even more. But Halloween 4 and 5 are actually, for me, extreme like guilty pleasure movies. They're so fun to watch, and they just get ridiculous, more and more ridiculous. But they're actually shot here in Utah as well. So there's like a lot of locations in here that I'm familiar with, and you can actually go drive and see the Michael Myers house here in Salt Lake City, at least the Michael Myers house from Halloween 4, 5, and 6, because that's not the original Michael Myers house, but it is in these movies. And they're shot, yeah, in and around Utah, which is cool because they, for the first time, actually have organic fall leaves and fall colors because they shot them during fall in Utah, whereas the first few films don't. The very first movie, you can see that they're putting like fall leaves like all over the ground, and they're like using fans to blow them around, but the actual trees are all green and the grass is all green and everything. But these films actually feel like fall when you watch them. So yeah, but they had to, but because it's supposed to be in Illinois. Is that where these movies are supposed to take place? They try to avoid really showing any of the mountains, which becomes difficult because most of the houses and the scenes take place like pretty close to our mountains here, the Wasatch Front. And so they're using angles that face away from the mountains, which is kind of a shame because there's so many beautiful spots that the camera just is like barely shying away from because they're trying not to show the mountains. But they do a couple of times capture the mountains. I don't know why I'm telling you all that stuff, but Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, which is, the final part of that kind of run of films here in Utah with Paul Rudd. And this has both cuts in it. There is like the MTV cut, as people call it, and then the like original cut. Both kind of suck. Halloween H2O, The Return of Jamie Lee Curtis, the first time she returned. And Halloween Resurrection, also Jamie Lee Curtis, but she dies at the very beginning. Spoiler, sorry. But don't worry, because she comes back in the next batch of Halloween films. Well, not the next batch, not the Rob Zombie ones, but the next batch of Halloween films. And they rewrite all the history. And so Michael Myers might have the most multiverses out of any slasher or horror film because like they constantly rewrite the canon. Oh, this one didn't exist. This one didn't happen. Anyway, that is my entire collection of random miscellaneous boutique label stuff. So not a lot, but I do really love these Halloween movies. They're a prized possession of mine for sure. And maybe this year I'll get around to talking about each of them when it comes to October. So, oh, dude, I totally forgot. I have Scream Factory Army of Darkness, the steelbook. Yeah, damn. Oh god, I love Army of Darkness. This is such a cool steelbook too. Whoa. Again, retail gets very overpriced, and in the stores is very expensive. But I found a great deal at my used bookstore for this one. So this was awesome. But yeah, you get sometimes they overdo it with the features. Like I do not need the 4 discs that this movie comes with because I am just going to watch the 4K Ultra HD theatrical cut. Now, I've got a Blu-ray theatrical cut, I've got a Blu-ray director's cut, and I've got a international cut and a television cut. I do not need that many cuts. The only one that they put on 4K is a theatrical cut, and that's the only one I'm going to watch. It's kind of cool, I guess, if there's like the director's cut. That's something I would maybe watch. But I don't need the international or the television cut, especially not if it's going to require that many discs. So if that's half the reason that the pricing is so high, then like, I don't know. I know I don't need it. But then again, maybe I'm not the target audience. And there are collectors that want every piece of detail that you can get about a film. So for historical purposes, I guess that's cool. I don't have the patience for watching the film 4 different cuts and figuring out which is my favorite. All right. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me through that. What boutique label should I get into? I know I don't have like any Vinegar Syndrome or others. I can't think of any off the top of my head. There's plenty of great ones out there. Like I said in the last video, if you want to see me talk about my comic books or my vinyl records, let me know in the comments below too. If I get enough comments, I'll do videos about those. But otherwise, what's your favorite Halloween movie? All right. Thanks for commenting, liking, subscribing. I love you all. We'll talk to you again in the next one.